Driving in Ireland, is it actually as scary as everybody says, or is there a tad bit of fear-mongering going on online? Today, we are going to be breaking it down, taking a look at some of the unspoken rules that tourists don't typically know about and how to best navigate those unpredictable, winding roads. Let's dive into the video. There's no denying it. The number one concern for those driving in Ireland is the narrow country roads that you hear horror stories about online. But the good news is you have a local here who's going to explain to you the types of roads that we have in Ireland and how you can avoid the ones you don't want to end up on. So in Ireland, we have 4 road types. We have motorways, national roads, regional roads, and then local roads. All 4 road types have a coloured road sign associated with them. And once you understand that, it's going to be so much easier to plan your route using the GPS. First road type that we'll take a look at is motorways. This tends to be the easiest road type to drive on in Ireland. They typically have 2 lanes, but some do have 3, and the speed limit ranges from 120 to 100 kilometers per hour. The coloured road sign associated with a motorway is blue. So when you're planning your route on the GPS, if you see a blue rectangular road sign, that's a good indication that you're gonna go onto a motorway. The next road type is our national road system. You will definitely end up on these types of roads when driving around Ireland. Generally, they're in quite good condition. The speed limit ranges from 100 to 80 kilometers an hour, and they can vary between 1 to 2 lanes. And the coloured road sign associated with them is green. So again, when you're planning your route on the GPS, if there's a rectangular green road sign, that's a good indication that you're going to end up on a national road. And then the next road type is our regional road system. These are not as fun. They tend to be windy and unpredictable in places, but they're also home to some of the most beautiful views across the country. So ending up on these roads, it's not bad news, but it's just good to mentally prepare yourself because there is going to be a few twists and turns as you drive along them. The colour road sign associated with it is white. Now, speaking of navigating using the GPS, sometimes it will give you 1 or 2 options. Generally speaking, the national road is going to be quicker, but sometimes the regional road, while it will take longer, could actually be the more scenic option. I recommend when planning your route to use Google Street View to determine whether it's actually worth going the longer route and seeing if it's like a beautiful path or a valley, or taking the national road because it gets you there quicker and allows you more time at your destination. Street View is also a great way of determining whether it's a road type that you mentally feel confident driving on. So that's a good way of checking out the regional roads because, as I said, they can be unpredictable and windy in places. They do range in terms of quality. So it's always nice to kind of mentally know beforehand, okay, this is the type of road I'm going on to. I'm comfortable with that decision. Final road type is a local road. And honestly, you just don't really want to end up on them. They're those narrow country roads with grass in the middle of them. Don't worry, later on in the video I will explain how best to navigate them if you do accidentally end up on one. That is a little bit of information overload. Don't worry, I have recently designed a Driving in Ireland digital guide with a range of cheat sheets that you can either print out for your trip or download onto your mobile device. And there's also custom Google Maps and local insights that you won't typically find in other Ireland travel guides. If that's something you're interested in, I'll leave a link in the description. Our next point is probably one of the biggest concerns that people have when driving in Ireland, and that is roundabouts. Why on earth are there so many and why are they so tricky to navigate? Full disclaimer, I'm not a driving instructor, but I am going to lay out the basic rules of Irish roundabouts so that you can completely put your mind at ease. We do have 2 types of roundabouts. They range from 1 to 2 lanes. You always yield to traffic on your right hand side. So if another car on the right is driving onto the roundabout or is already on the roundabout, you do not move until they have passed you by. If you're in the left hand lane, you're using that lane to either turn left or go straight through the roundabout. If you're in the right hand lane, you're using that lane to go straight through the roundabout, turn right, or go all the way back around the roundabout because you've made a mistake. It's so swerving at the last minute and causing an accident. It's also important to remember that when you're leaving a roundabout, you signal to the left to let the other cars know that you wish to exit the roundabout. Included in my digital driving guide is a cheat sheet on how best to navigate roundabouts if you would like to bring it with you on your journey. That actually shouldn't be the number one concern of people driving in Ireland for the first time. A massive mistake has to do with our petrol stations. We have 2 fuel types. We have diesel and we have petrol. This is where things can go wrong. In some other countries, the colors are reversed. The nozzle for our petrol is green and then the nozzle for our diesel is black. It is essential that you know what type of fuel your rental car takes, because if you put the wrong one in, it is a very expensive mistake. When it comes to petrol stations in Ireland, it's completely self-service. You pull up to the pump, You insert the nozzle into your car, you watch as it's filling so that you don't go over budget, and when you're finished, you take note of what number pump you're parked at, that's very important, and then you proceed into the shop and pay with a cashier. Majority of our petrol stations will have a deli where you can get fresh sandwiches and food made up, and then also a range of fast food options. And if you do need to use the toilet, a petrol station is a great thing to look for because they do generally have public toilets unless they're a teeny tiny station. Also included in my digital driving guide is a custom Google Maps featuring petrol stations near tourist attractions or tourist routes. You can toggle them from 24-hour to non-24-hour stations. So this is just a good way to toggle it on and off if you do need to use the bathroom or you need to fill up with fuel. Or you need a road trip snack because, you know, they're important too. Let's rewind for a minute because I need to give you a little bit more information on motorways. When you're on a motorway, you drive in the left-hand lane and the other lanes are used purely for overtaking, no matter what the locals try to tell you. If you do approach a car and you want to get around them, you indicate out into the lane on your right, drive past the vehicle and then indicate back into the lane and continue driving on the left. Another thing that you will come up against on Irish motorways is unfortunately toll bridges. When you're approaching a toll bridge, you will see road signs to warn you and the speed limit will slowly start to drop. There are a few ways that you can pay for the toll bridge. One is an easy pass system, which is a tag that allows you to go through the fast lane on the right hand side and just continue on driving without having to stop to pay. Some rental car companies do operate this way, so it is important to find out if they have a system like that. Or you can pay using cash, card, or with the shop assistant. Now the only thing about that is not every single lane offers all payment types, so there will be lights above the toll bridge signifying what type of payment is accepted in each lane. And then once the payment is complete, of course the barrier will open and then you're free to continue driving along the motorway. It is important to note that there is no lanes as you're exiting the toll bridge. It is a little bit of a free-for-all because everybody's just heading for the 2-lane system again. It can be a little bit mind-boggling when you see it for the first time. And then we have the M50 toll bridge, which is just its own system. It can be quite hard to miss, so this is an important one to listen to. When it comes to the M50 toll, it is just a scanner. There's no physical bridge. Nobody slows down as they're approaching it. You just go through it and the scanner reads your reg plate. With that in mind, it is important to ask your car rental company how they deal with the M50 toll, because if you don't pay it on time, it starts to tally up. I do want to bring your attention to my Free Ireland Facebook community. I may be biased, but I do think it's one of the best resources out there for anyone planning their trip to Ireland, so I will leave a cheeky link in the description. I'm not going to go into great detail on renting a car in Ireland because honestly that is a whole video in itself. If you are interested in me making one, make sure you let me know in the comments what size car should we rent when driving around Ireland. And the general consensus and advice coming from other people is get the smallest car possible. I do agree, but I do just want to bring your attention to 2 core problems with getting the smallest car. If you're traveling with 4 or more adults, getting the smallest car might lead to the most arguments.
So why do you have a stick?
Keeping Elizabeth in her place. Sammy's have a wooden spoon, but she makes her just splinters.
So a lot of people go for the smallest car possible and then realize when they get there, oh, our luggage, it's not going to fit in the boot or the trunk of the car. And speaking of luggage, if you are concerned about what to pack for Ireland, I do have a detailed blog post on the things you should and should not bring on your trip. You will be able to access it by my Free Ireland resource library using the QR code on screen, or there is a link in the description. Just because Ireland is a small country does not mean that it's quick and easy to navigate your way around. It is important not to take the estimated time on the GPS as gospel or fact. I am calling out Americans on this one, but I do a lot of travel planning calls helping people plan their trip. And one thing I hear all the time is 3 hours, sure, that's grand. We're used to driving long journeys. And what I say to that is you're adapting the Irish attitude a little bit too early there for your trip. The GPS does not take into consideration you stopping along your route, whether it's to use the bathroom, take in beautiful views, or the various obstacles that might get in your way.
So we had to pull in because of some traffic on the road. Hey guys, can I get through please? No? Bye.
Because believe me when I say this, it is socially acceptable to say, sorry I'm late, I got stuck behind a tractor. I'm talking sheep, roadworks, and unpredictable obstacles that you just never really thought you'd come across.
Oh my god.
You never really know what you're going to get in Ireland. If the GPS is saying it's going to take 3 hours, I recommend adding an extra hour onto that. If you get there within the estimated time, great. And then if you don't, sure, it's nothing to you because you were prepared for it. We have mentioned the GPS a few times, but I do have some tips and tricks to help you better use them. There's 2 apps that are quite reliable in Ireland, and that is Google Maps and Waze. A lot of rental car companies will give you the options to add a GPS, but I don't really think it's worth the extra expense with smartphones nowadays. I think you're better off getting yourself an eSIM. AIRALO is the company that I like to use. I've used them both abroad and in Ireland. Ireland, and I do have a sneaky discount for you in the description. And by using an eSIM, you can stay connected throughout your trip and then also have data to navigate the map. It is Ireland at the end of the day, so there are some rural places that you won't have service no matter what phone provider you decide to go with. I do recommend you download the maps offline before you come. Speaking of dropping signal, there is one other scenario that you may notice and that is when driving from the Republic of Ireland into the north of Ireland or Northern Ireland, depending on your persuasion, as they say in Dairy Girls. We're not getting into political conversation right now. There are some differences that you should be aware of when it comes to driving. For starters, in the Republic of Ireland, we drive in kilometers per hour, and then in the north, they drive in miles per hour. I do have a little cheat sheet in my digital driving guide with average conversions just to make things a little bit easier. Another important thing to note is the road signs. So in the Republic of Ireland, the road signs are bilingual, so you have English and Irish on the road signs. Then in the north, the official road signs are just in English. You may notice a drop in signal as you're going from the Republic into the north because they're going to be bouncing off the phone towers, and sometimes it just takes a few minutes for it to settle. It is important to note that if you're planning on visiting both the Republic and the north, the phone plan that you get is more than likely going to be different. If you're going to go with an eSIM, I will leave the details on what plan is best for you in the description, but if you are going with another provider, it is important that you ask them if it will work in both the Republic and the north. There is no hard border, so nobody is going to stop you asking you for your passport or check your bags. You can just drive straight through, and to be honest, half the time you won't even notice the difference. But thanks to Brexit, if you are traveling into Northern Ireland, 90% of people will now need a visa. They are quite easy to get, they're not too expensive, but it is essential that you have it. We just don't want to break the law. Now, there is one obstacle that I did not bring to your attention earlier on, and that's because it deserves its own individual point, and that is the Irish weather. We don't know when it's going to get in our way, and I think it's a common misconception that it rains here 24/7, but that's actually not really the case. What does happen is we have 4 seasons in the one day. They all fight against each other to see who can shine. Sometimes you will be driving and the next thing you know, you're hit with a torrential rainstorm. The next minute it's sunny. The next minute there's a rainbow. The next minute it's foggy. You just don't really know what's going to happen. My advice is just wait 5 minutes. If you are feeling afraid because there's really heavy rain and you don't really want to drive in it, just pull over.
You can see everything. This is the burnt situation.
We might need to pull over.
And give yourself a break. Enjoy the sound of the rain hitting the windscreen and drive when you feel like it's safe to do so. We are going to take a look at the rules of the road in Ireland because we don't want you ending up in trouble while you're here. The speed limit, that's the thing. It's a limit. So it's not a target. You're not trying to go over it. You're trying to stay under it or get as close to it as possible without feeling like you're driving in an unsafe manner. When it comes to breaking the speed limit, there are a few ways that you can get caught. The first one is an average speed camera. They measure how long it takes you to get from one point to the other. It's quite obvious. You will see road signs letting you know you're approaching an average speed zone. They are big yellow cameras. They either will be overhead or you'll see them on the side of the road. We also have mobile speed vans. These tend to be hidden in plain sight, so they can be easy to miss. And then you can also be caught by the guards or the Garda Síochána, which is our police force. If you're pulled in for speeding by the police, you are speeding. Where the other ones, you can kind of get done by just going slightly over the limit. So it is just important that you watch your speed. It's also essential to wear your seatbelt in Ireland. If you do not wear your seatbelt, you can get penalty points or a fine. And the same goes for using your mobile phone. You can use a Bluetooth speaker, but your 2 hands always have to be on the wheel. Another rule of the road that is essential you listen to is there's no turning left or right on red. Red means red in Ireland and you wait for a green light to go. In some circumstances, it may feel like you're turning when the light has turned red, but that is not the case. You may have to drive into the middle of the junction, wait for the traffic to clear, and then you can make your turn. And yes, the light might go from green to red, but if you have already passed into the middle of the junction, that means you've gone beyond the turn anyway. So that means that you clear the junction. The point that seems to shock a lot of people is Ireland's alcohol allowance when driving, because every country has different rules when it comes to this, but in Ireland we have a 0 alcohol limit. I hate when people say I'll just have 1 drink and then I'll drive home. That 1 drink isn't going to make much of a difference to your night anyway, so you're better off just getting yourself a soft drink while you're in the pub. So now that we've spoken about the rules of the road in Ireland, I want to bring your attention to the unspoken rules of the road in Ireland. So this seems to be a big concern for tourists. How will locals act to a tourist that's driving slowly on Irish roads? We are used to having tourists on our roads, so I don't even think that's something that you need to worry about. But I do want to bring a few things to your attention just so that your mind is a little bit more at ease. So picture this. You're driving along and suddenly you make a wrong turn, and before you know it, you're on a windy country road with grass in the middle of it. And that is the moment that you're scratching your head wondering if this is a one-way system. Unfortunately, it's not. The main thing is do not panic. Drive at a slow pace. If you do happen to meet another car, again, it's important just not to panic. Generally speaking, the car that is the closest to a pull-in will start to reverse and allow the other vehicle to pass around them. Now, if you do feel that you're nervous, don't be afraid to say, I'm not local to here, I really do need some help. Odds are the other car that you meet is more than likely going to be a local, so they will either do the maneuvering around you or they will help you get into a pull-in so that they can pass you by. What happens when you're driving on a national road or a regional road? Start to panic and you're not driving too fast, and before you know it, there's a line of cars starting to pile up behind you. If you end up in that scenario, you do not speed up. If you're already panicked, the worst thing that you can do is go above what you feel capable of in that moment. What you should do is remain calm and then pull in when it's safe to do so and allow those cars to pass you by. There's a high chance the reason the cars have not already gone around you is because you have been driving along a continuous white line, and it does have to be a dotted white line to overtake another vehicle. Now, let's say you're driving on a national or regional road and you're pretty close to the speed limit. There is a local person behind you and they're getting a little frustrated at you because maybe they want to break the speed limit. That's their problem and you don't need to worry about it. At the end of the day, it's your job to get there safe at your destination, and anyone else's bad mood is none of your concern. Now, another unspoken rule is waving at other vehicles. Just want to explain it to you so it doesn't leave you confused. So you're driving along and the next thing you know, a local goes like this to you. They're just saying hi. They might also go, again, they're just saying hi. If they go, they probably think you're someone they know and they've mistaken you. You also might get a wave on Irish roads. If you do a favor for someone on the road, they're going to wave to say thank you. Another way that people like to say thank you is by holding their hand up to the rearview mirror or flashing their hazard lights if there is a car behind them. When it comes to driving at night, there are no street lights on our rural country roads. So with that in mind, you will have to use your full lights or your high beams when you're driving, but please, please, please try to remember to turn them off when you see another vehicle approaching you. There's nothing worse than driving on country roads and the car driving in the opposite direction is blinding you and you can't see anything and you're just hoping for the best. And then in terms of driving in Dublin, please just don't. I know it's easier said than done. I know a lot of people will fly in and pick up their car in the airport, and it just makes more sense to bring your car with you into Dublin City. But it is a nightmare, so I just want to warn you ahead of time. Parking is going to cost you about €4 an hour, the traffic is not fun, and there's loads of random no right and left turn rules. So honestly, if you can avoid bringing a car into Dublin city centre, I definitely recommend going down that route. Now, if you like this video, you're really going to love this Ireland travel video next. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps my channel to grow. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye!